Ki te wate o te hinenaro me te pai o te rere o te wairua ka taia ngā mea katoa. When the mind is free and the spirit is flowing, anything is possible. Te whakatohea used that whakatauaki when they were working, or I shouldn't say working, consulting with the Crown in 1896. I think it's actually appropriate kind of whakatauaki or proverb for the conference with regards to perhaps the context we need to leave with. When the mind is free and the spirit is flowing, anything is possible. Because in a sense, what we've kind of been through for the last couple of days has been quite complex and quite intense and a lot to take on board. And generally, I just worry that we perhaps want to sprint before we actually need to set ourselves up for this marathon. You know, we're in I think, a historic time in New Zealand history with regards to what's going to occur with New Zealand's primary sector. There's plenty of examples of the change that needs to occur, but it's historic. I think if we, well, no, not we, but whoever's around Tipuna in 100 years, if they look back and they're looking at the history of Aotearoa, they will look upon this time as being a real transitional phase. And you guys are right in the heart of it. There's no easy answers. I haven't actually, it's interesting, I've heard a lot over the last 2 days, very well presented, a lot of eloquent speakers and people very passionate, and talked to a lot of people as well, and I've heard a lot of really positive and I suppose really people trying to set the scene for how they move forward. I think we understand why. I think a whole lot of the agencies and organisations that are here understand why. My challenge to us, though, is I'm not sure how many of the community or how many potentially within Māoridom or otherwise really understand the why. Because at the moment it's our why. What's their why? That's yet to be explored. Second part of this too is that I've heard a lot of what we're going to do, you know? We're going to do this, and we're going to do that, and we're going to try and do this, and we're going to try and do that, and we haven't quite got the answers for this, and yada, yada, yada. It's cool stuff, but I'm stuck with, I'm really stuck on hearing a lot about the how. How are we going to do it? You know? It's not going to be that easy with regards to exploring the how. Really loved what the last two speakers put on front of us, because it really was kind of really trying to land something quite, you know, factual and actual and real right in front of us right at this point in time. But that how, I think we really need to have a think about. We really, really do. So I'm just going to leave it there for a sec, because that was the first part of what I was kind of allowed to just talk about some things, and I'll come back to some perspectives. But the other one is I'm going to break the Slido rule, because I'm a creature of habit and I love to hear people's voices and actually see expression and emotion and all those sorts of things. So I didn't come up with this on my own, but we've got one question for you. And if you feel like this is the moment to actually answer the question in public and say what you'd like to say instead of seeing it on screen or otherwise, then now's the time. So we're going to spend about 10 minutes or so, depending on how many want to put their hand up, to answer this question basically, and that is, what is still bothering you? I wanted to be positive about it and not just say what is a real niggle for you or anything. So please don't just come up with things that you're struggling with. Be constructive. But what's still bothering you? Out of everything that you've heard, what is kind of sitting there going, oh my God, I wish somebody would, I need this answered. Somebody give me some perspective to that. I'm not necessarily going to answer them all, but it would be good if we all heard more from each of us, perhaps in the sense of what's bothering you. And if you don't put your hands up, you're going to have to listen to me for way longer than you realise. Okay. Thank you, Miriam. You have to speak loud, I know, because I've banished the Slido thing for 10 minutes.
What's bothering me is where's the community in all this? We've got some really motivated communities. We've got mana whenua, we've got a lot of people that are engaging with resolving the problem. But they're constantly coming up against more problems. So how do we help them in the long term? Because they're going to get fatigued by all of this. So where's the community? How do we support them through this?
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Merrin. Somebody's put their hand up. I'll go to Chris, then down to you, Janet.
What's bothering me is, or are, the timelines. There are dates set, and I'm concerned that they appear to be set in stone and they may be unrealistic. And that's the one thing that worries me, is that there's such a huge amount that has to be done to do it by the times that are set down. And I wonder how much flexibility there might be. And I guess the corollary to that is, if we go past the timelines, do we lose momentum? Do we shift things out? Do we kind of lose sight of the end game by stretching the timelines too much?
Yeah. Crikey, I've got a response to that too, but I'll go to Janet.
So my issue is the cost of all this, and where's it going to land, and who's it going to land on, and what's the cost if we don't do it?
Yeah, so if anyone didn't hear that, it's costs basically. Who's it going to land on? What's going to happen to those who it lands on? And the last bit was, if we don't, who's going to fund it? Now, I had Kerry coming over. So I don't know everyone's name. Somewhere over here.
Linked to the last two.
I'll stand up, bro. So that'd be.
Kia ora, Tim Hawkins, Taranaki Regional Council. Linked to the last two bothers, my bother is resourcing. There's a lot to do in a pretty short time frame. We've got limited money and limited people. Something has to drop. What is that something, and how do we do that prioritisation? And is it region specific, or is it nationwide prioritisation? Because something needs to.
Great question, because my response with that would be to challenge us all as to, well, where is the sweet spot? And I've heard everything. The key theme of the conference that I've heard from loads of speakers is relationships, and I think those of us who've been around a while understand relationships and the importance of them. But my challenge to you would be, do you understand what that means? It's very easy to say, but what is that relationship? What does it look like? What do you bring to it? What are you going to take from it? Okay, relationships in Māoridom are the most important basis for how we're going to move forward. Another question was over here. Yes?
The thing that's still bothering me is the scale of change that's needed.
Yeah.
So I live here in the Waitaka region, and pretty much everything I've heard over the last couple of days I think is incommensurate or is insufficient to meet the scale of change that we need.
Right, so that was an excellent point about being bothered by the scale of change, and perhaps what has been discussed the last couple of days. There was a big word in there, incommensurate. There we go. I finally spat it out. Really good point with regards to the scale of change, and perhaps that's the point to the agencies in the room to think about that. Now, any more questions? There was something way over here. Yes, please. Kia ora.
So Eva from Enviro Collective, I guess the thing that worries me is this will be a messy process. There is going to be a lot of things that we learn through the way, and I expect that, particularly as we get started in the process, that we're going to have to deal with good enough. And what I worry about is that the planners will say good enough is not good enough, and then overlay a whole bunch of duplicate rules and things into all the next generation of plans that are coming from. So I guess I would, any planners, are there any planners in here? No, sorry, isn't there? I would really like to see that there's some faith from the planners that are looking at redeveloping all the rules into this process, because, and setting it up with an expectation that it will be imperfect to start off with, and it is going to be a process that will realistically be like 10 years to kind of end in, and I don't want us to throw out the baby with the bathwater.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. It's kind of like, I think Fiona Young used the term. No, Maeve Judith did. Social process within a policy environment. Ooh, tricky as heck. So another, Kerry, are you going to talk this time? Yep. Oh.
Go first. Your piece, Simon, Kerry Hudson, the
Thank you, Kerry. And if you didn't hear what Kerry was saying, he was making the point about the Tairāwhiti has been under a lot of weather in the last little while, and there's a lot of different types of land uses up there that are also going to need to look at some sort of environmental planning work as well. So I'll take one more question, one more pātai.
Kia ora koutou, Shante Konakingi from Kaitokiru. I've got a bit of a whakatauki that I'll pātai here.
Kei te pai, do you want to speak on the microphone?
No, I won't do that. As Sir James Henry said, we've come too far to not go further. So regardless of all this legislation that bothers us every time, and for us as Māori, we get it every time. So that whakatauki, we got to keep moving forward, right? And our taiao is telling us that it's not going to handle any more than what it can. So if we're not going to try and fix it, then we might as well go to the moon. But the other thing is I am bothered by the whole auditing process. If there's going to start a monopoly, we need to cap that so people can say it's affordable. Because if you're going to see it as a job creation and say, I'm going to charge you 10,000 and we can tick all the boxes to give you an A grade, you're already out of the market, you know. So I don't know if MFE has thought about that, but that needs to be capped. Kia ora.
Kia ora. And no other hands going up. Good. So that was a beautiful segue into just me closing off with regards to some of the, I suppose, some of the benefits and reasons for being at the Association of New Zealand Association of Resource Management. The key message in there, the key message in there was in a sense related to taiao. And I suppose my final comment is that if we're going to deliver the freshwater management changes that we're looking for, we've got to pay so much relevance to Te Mana o Te Wai. Te Mana o Te Wai is ultimately the freshwater's way of bringing Te Tiriti or Waitangi to life within a really important piece of legislation and work. And if I'm bothered about anything, it is that the speed and pace and workload and everything that's going to land within hapu, marae or iwi is going to be faster and quicker than that can happen authentically and appropriately. And so we do need to be cognizant of that. It's just a very, very real part of the future. And if we want to be authentically Aotearoan in 100 years' time, then what better place to start now with us to lead the way with regards to transforming how we explore, how we look into the future through a perhaps more authentic and truly Indigenous lens. There's nothing wrong with that. If I was to go overseas tomorrow, I would try and use as much kupu as possible because that's what we are, who we are. I'm proud of that. I respect it. It gives us the point of difference, you know? Think of our haka that didn't quite work at the World Cup final. Why, crikey. Anyway, I'm rattling on, but we could talk all night about this stuff. So it's been a fantastic conference. The professionalism that is going to be required from us into the future needs to be geared around an association, and this is the perfect association for you to be involved with. The way that Matt Highway and the executive team are exploring producing the capacity building programs and structure within the organisation is going to be really critical for you guys moving forward to essentially, if you're a privateer, sustaining your certification or your credibility within the system, and if you're in council or other agencies, making sure, I suppose, that people are part of something that is professional. And plus in that professional network, you're going to be, there's one thing that I do worry about, and that is the safety and health and safety of us and our own well-being long term. It's a stressful role that you're in. It will become more stressful, and we need to look after each other in that space. And NZARM needs to look at that as much as looking at the systems and stuff that is designed to support us as well. And I'm really excited about Duncan Cavell on the exec, who's our regional coordinator. And I'm really excited about what that may look like into the future with regards to him firing up people around the motu to talk about these things and discuss stuff and connect and build networks. Somebody said something about, I think it was Emma from Sinlay, who mentioned that work as a sector, build relationships. In fact, the panel was brilliant with regards to what they put forward. We do need to work as a sector. The best work I've ever done is where I'm part of a team of rural professionals working with the farmers. You know, that's how it goes. So we've talked about that. So it's a tip for you basically. Probably spend more time generating a team than actually trying to work isolated in a way with individual farmers. So NZARM, I'm impressed with the level of professional change occurring within it. It has to keep going, and I hope that you can see it and use it and help shift it in its transformation with regards to its constitution and otherwise moving forwards. Because we need you, and you need a place to go and be as well. You need something to connect to. That's about it really, I think, Chris. I think other people will sum up and thank people for the conference, but from my own perspective, yeah, thank you very much to everybody who has set the conference up, Chris.
Okay. A round of applause for Simon.